You're tuned into the Wade Borth Podcast, the place where clarity replaces confusion and real conversations open new doors for your financial life. Let's dive in and rethink what's possible.
Hello, welcome back to the Wade Borth Podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about a subject that is, interestingly enough, we talk about it all the time, but yet we don't talk about it. It's this idea of life insurance. And I know I've been in the life insurance industry for 35 years, and we have a tendency, especially people in the industry, to kind of breeze over the value of what does that mean? What does life insurance really mean? There's a whole month called Life Insurance Awareness Month. And, sometimes people hear it, sometimes they don't. The people in the industry, we could try to promote it, but it is a difficult subject sometimes for people to talk about because it does approach our mortality or, the fact that we have a certain amount of time in this world before we graduate. And what are we doing with that time? And then when we talk about what happens at that end, it is difficult for some people to talk about because they see it as an end and not as really not as the beginning. So today I just want to talk about the value of life insurance. And what I mean by that and where I've gone with that is I've had a number of clients I've had to deliver policies and death claims on. And I heard it said this way, and I really love this, like of all the financial world that's out there, right? You got people that managing money and property, you own property or whatever it might be. When a death happens in a family, if you can imagine this for people that can't see it, but really what happens like with people with assets under management or with companies that have assets under management or your property or whatever it is, when a death happens, those companies that are supposed to be serving you and your family, they go out and they can imagine reaching around and grabbing their arms and trying to pull all those assets back to themselves so they can continue to manage it, they can continue to hold on to it. Life insurance, on the other hand, gives this idea of that event happens to you. It happens to everybody, by the way. When that event happens, they're the only company, the only industry that I know of that will take and push money out to your beneficiaries, push money out to your people. And why is that? Because they enter into a contract, the time you enter into a contract, the day you sign your life insurance policy, that they will pay money and provide liquidity, and we'll talk about liquidity here in a second. They'll provide liquidity to your family and those ones you love and those people that you want something to happen to, in a positive sense, to the degree you want it to happen. And you think about that. It's a guarantee that money will be provided to your family, to your kids, to your charity, wherever you want that money to go to. They're going to say, hey, here's the dollars, and they're going to push them out to your people. Wherever you designate as your beneficiary, it might be a trust, whatever it is, but it's a guaranteed liquidity contract that will happen when you want it, when that time occurs, and it will happen the way you want it to happen. So it's almost like managing your money from the grave, but it's pushed out to your family versus the rest of the financial services world, which always tries to reach their arms around and pull it back to them. The life insurance industry is pushing that money back out to those people that really need it. And of all the claims I've ever delivered, I can probably honestly say that I'm probably one of the few persons in the world that is not coming with a bill, it's coming with a check. And so why do I love this industry? Why do I love life insurance? Because when that event happens, not if, but when, we're showing up with a check, and not that money will solve the problems. It will not solve the grief. It will not solve all the problems in the world. But what it does do is it takes the pressure off, the financial pressure off, so you can deal with the emotional pressures. And so, why do I love life insurance? It's because that reason alone. I mean, that could be the sole purpose of why we own life insurance. There's a lot of other things that are going on. People are using it for a lot of other reasons. But at the end of the day, it's a guaranteed contract. When that event happens, it will provide liquidity. And that's really the most important part. It's a liquidity contract. It will provide liquidity to your family, your people, your business owner, your partner, your trust, whatever it is, at the exact time it absolutely needs that liquidity. So from a business owner standpoint, if I got two partners in my business, it provides liquidity for them to purchase and buy my wife out. So she gets cash and then she gets what she needs out of the business. You get what you need out of the business, but it doesn't happen unless there's liquidity. And this is the only product that has a guarantee to provide that liquidity that you're looking for and that you need in your business. And so again, the life insurance industry, kind of gets a black eye. And there's a lot of people like push back on it because it is a little tough to, to think about, right? We think about our own mortality, but it is an industry that has been around, 200 years. Think about an industry that's been around 200 years and been this successful and this financially sound. It's the most sound industry in the world, in my opinion, because because of the principles that it has to rely on in order to stay liquid, to provide those promises. And the interesting part about the life insurance industry is it's out there and it's making decisions today and entering into contract with you today to maybe not pay a claim for another 50, 80, maybe even 100 years if you buy policies on your children. And so they have to make that guarantee to be around 50, 80, 100 years. And so it's a rather interesting relationship that they have to have with their clients. And again, that's why we work with mutual insurance companies, because they're ran for the benefit of their policyholders. And so when you ran for the benefit of your policyholders, you make decisions a little bit differently. You make that commitment to your people. And so you don't have any other commitments that you're trying, commitments you're trying to fulfill with your stockholders and so on and so forth. But they're making commitment to you, the policyholder, which is in turn the owner of the mutual insurance company. So I love the idea of life insurance, but I love it married with this idea of a mutual company, because again, it's a mutual benefit society, right? We're trying to band together with like-minded people to solve a problem that is going to happen. And that problem is liquidity at the time of death. So we can talk a lot about, we can complicate life insurance. We can talk a lot about how we can use it and fancy, so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, it is a very straightforward, I've used this multiple times. You've heard me say it on these podcasts before. All life insurance is a professionally managed bond and real estate portfolio that's done at this institutional level, right? With professional money managers, guaranteed never to go backwards. So think about that from, what does that really mean? So it's a professionally managed bond and real estate portfolio done at this institutional level, guaranteed never to go backwards. And for your benefit, to provide you liquidity, to make a promise to you, to guarantee you, to bring some certainty into your life, financial life, that what you want done and the amount you want to have happen will happen at a certain time in life. And the thing we don't know is when that's going to be. It could be tomorrow. It could be 50 years from now. When we don't know, that's the certainty that it brings. Like, it's this guaranteed contract to pay tomorrow or 50, 100 years from now, whatever it might be. So from this idea of life insurance being a valuable asset, it is one of the most unique and I think powerful assets in our financial world that's very misunderstood, and it's been kind of used a lot of different ways, maybe not even the greatest ways, but it's at its core, it serves to bring certainty to people's lives. And I've heard people say, I don't want life insurance. I don't want the death benefit. The question is, do you love anybody? If you don't want anything, if you don't want to leave life insurance, why not? Right? I heard a client say one time, I don't want to leave money to my kids. Why not? Are you afraid they might waste it? Well, then let's educate them now on how to use it, right? Let's address that today. Let's put your kids in a better position. If there is no value there, if you don't want to provide liquidity to your family at that time when you graduate from this earth, life insurance might not be for you. Because it is a contract of love. You have to love something more than you love yourself in order to really appreciate the benefit of life insurance. So I would just say that look at life insurance for what it is. It's very simple, but yet it's got a lot of complexities to it. It's got a lot of nuances to it. But at the end of the day, what it does, it provides liquidity, which is just, provides cash to people when they need cash. And how it's done, it's just done at this professional level that it's shifted all that risk of not knowing when you're going to die back to a company that takes all the risk on themselves. And that's why I love whole life insurance, is because all that risk is transferred away from you to somebody else that knows how to manage that risk. And it's just a risk management tool, but it's also that tool that gives you that certainty, that clarity, that freedom that you want to have when you start doing some planning and start thinking, how do I want to grow my life and how do I want things to happen as you start planning some things out? And again, I'm not saying it has to be 50 years out. It could be, what if happens if you go for a drive today, you're headed to work today, and you don't show up at work? It's an awful thing to think about, but what happens? Think about that for a second. Just close your eyes and imagine when you're not in the picture to provide an income, stability in your family, what happens financially to your family? I can't solve the emotional problem, but we can definitely address the financial problem. So I'd love for you to just, engage with that thought. how valuable is this product in your world? How valuable is this product in what you want to accomplish in this world, and with how you want to raise your kids and how you want your spouse treated and how you want them to survive through life. I mean, I'll tell you, in my own life, it was a struggle. When I saw my mom not have life insurance, my dad died when we were 13 years old. I'm speaking from experience. It changed the dynamics of who we were. Now, again, I would never go back and say I want to change that, because then maybe it changes who I am today. But I can tell you from personal experience, the struggles will be real. It's not if, right? So when you have to worry about the emotion, I remember my mother saying before she passed away, she said the one thing she got was like, she never got a chance to mourn my dad's loss because she had two boys, 13 and 14 years old, that she had to raise, and she didn't have an opportunity to go, hey, we really need to take some time to mourn this. And that was one of the things she always talked about, because she had to move forward. She had to go out, go back to work and, work for, I think it was like $3 or $4 an hour. Kind of probably going to date me a little bit, but she wasn't earning a lot of money, but she still had to put food on the table. And because the fact that somebody had talked my dad into saying, oh, that's a terrible use of your money, it's a terrible investment, terrible waste of money, putting money into life insurance, and convinced them to cancel it. What was that long-term impact on my mother? What was the long-term impact on our family and our farm? So I share that with you because I'm just going to tell you that I've experienced it, kind of know what that feels like. My experience isn't going to be your experience, but just know that the lack of that I felt. So when I talk to people about how valuable this asset is, I've seen it firsthand, and I can attest to what the lack of life insurance can do to a family. So anyhow, think about that. How does this impact your family? Would you like to have a deeper conversation about, what this could look like in your world? Give me a call. Let's connect. I'd love to have this conversation because I am passionate about the life insurance industry and the idea of, do we have the right amount of life insurance that we want on our family?
Grateful to have you tune in today. If you're ready to rethink your financial journey and take the next step, make sure to subscribe. Until next time, stay curious and stay in control.